Hey y'all, this is my review for the Real Housewives of New Jersey, episode 13, the season finale. Now, first and foremost, Andy Cohen needs his ass whooped for playing up this finale so much because it was pretty mid, to be perfectly honest with y'all. Then second of all, production needs to get their ass whooped for bringing these ladies back, bringing this exact cast, because we didn't ask for this. Like, we were tired of the division. We were tired of Melissa versus Teresa. And it's exactly what we got, technically, because they didn't really talk to each other the whole season, but a divided cast, it just does not work. We saw it with Potomac. Anywho, the episode opens at Margaret's house. She's being visited by Gent Fessler, and she's telling her about the stunt that she pulled during Teresa's little ponderosa about her. That little stunt she pulled with the funeral flowers was brilliant, by the way. Like a chef's kiss on the pettiness. Fessler asked her, did you get anybody's approval, like Joe or her assistant Lexi? Marge is like, I don't need approval. I know that's right. Marge also expresses her disappointment in Jackie and says that she's dead to her. Jackie was the definitive loser of this season. Like, the L's just kept on coming. She even got one this episode, but we'll talk about that later. Marge then tells Fessler that she has a few bombs to drop at this upcoming Rails dinner. Teresa's little ponderosa about her definitely activated Margaret. So as they're talking, Dolores shows up to Margaret's house to join them. So of course Marge is asking Dolores what went down at Teresa's, and Dolores is trying to play it down and say like, well, Teresa's just talking about what she was going through. Like, Teresa really thought she had a bomb to drop, and it was really a nothing burger. Dolores tells Margaret that Teresa said that Marge reached out to the ex in 2021. We get the flashback of Teresa and Margaret going at it. Teresa's accusing her on multiple occasions. Margaret says she never spoke to the ex. However, afterward, she most certainly did. After she found out that Louis had them investigated and was calling her son in his job. Again, I don't give a shit Margaret spoke to the ex because Teresa has done some dirty shit to the women throughout her time on this franchise, including to Melissa, to Margaret, to Caroline, Jacqueline, you name it. It's just tit for tat with these women. They're each trying to take each other down, and that's why the show has gone down, because they hate each other. According to Margaret, when she talked to Louis' ex, she validated the whole Bo Dietl stuff. Side note, all this talk about Louis' ex, like, why do they have this relationship in the first place? Like, what brought them to be fighting each other in court, restraining orders? No one's talking about that. Everyone just keeps talking about, oh, Margaret was contacting him. Like, what did he do in his last relationship or relationships? Dolores says she's tired of the back and forth between them. Margaret says she would never hold a summit against a person in the group. And then Dolores tries to call her out for saying, well, you did hold a summit before the reunion last year on Louis. And I think that's different. Usually the ladies amongst all franchises try to go into the reunion with a strategy, you know, with their reads, with their information, their receipts. I don't know, that's just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know in the comments, because I think Teresa was just trying to smear Margaret's name to the other ladies. Dolores then says, well, thanks for inviting me, sarcastically. And then Margaret says, we did, you didn't come. Then we just see a switch go off in Dolores. She's just like, you lying? Well, I can't say it, but she calls her a lion. See you next Tuesday. After that, this scene goes left immediately. Like, Patterson Dolores has showed up. This is a very tense back and forth. Marge tells Dolores that I told you 2 days before the reunion in mild conversation. I said we're all meeting up, but I'm sure you don't want to come. Dolores is like, liar, liar. Like, you can see the veins in her neck as well as her forehead, and she was turning red. This is the scariest Dolores has come off in a very long time. Marge was holding her ground though, I'll give her that, because I would have started crying. By the way, y'all need to watch this particular scene on Peacock, the uncensored version. It goes 1,000 times harder. And production, they got those Jumanji drums going. They are yelling at each other at this point. Production zooms in on the dog just chilling. And then I forgot Gent Fessler was there. She's just sitting there like a child in timeout. Dolores continues to call Margaret a liar. Then she swears on her kids that conversation never took place. Usually, when they swear on their kids, that means it happened. And I don't know why Dolores is getting so mad. I'm thinking maybe it did happen. But on the other hand, like, maybe she just really don't remember. Dolores maintains that you never had that conversation with me. There was never a phone call for me to fucking come here. You're lying. You're fucking lying. She gets up and like threatens to leave. Margaret is keeping her cool. She says she's not lying. Maybe Dolores is having this visceral reaction because Margaret put her out on Front Street and it makes her look like she was betraying Teresa. Jen Fessler finally interrupts and tells him to just take a breath. Margaret is like, I just can't believe you called me a fucking lion. See you next Tuesday. Dolores then apologizes for that and says, I had a long day. I'm stressed. We got to Margaret's confessional. She said, I'm telling the truth. I remember telling her. We got to Dolores' confessional, and like I said, I think she was more mad because it made it look like she was thrown under the bus to be a liar and a bad friend to Teresa. So then she's saying, I know what Margaret's capable of. Now, present day, I think they're still friends, so it's whatever. Okay, so the moment is de-escalated. The ladies do apologize to each other, and I think they're good. I'm just like kind of confused by this moment because we didn't really get an answer or not. So somebody's lying, or maybe they just have two different versions of what happened. They hug it out, but that was a real argument between friends. So now they're talking about the upcoming RHONJ, and they really think they're gonna get some resolve out of this. Whew, what a way to open up the episode. Next scene, we're at Rachel's house where she's being visited by Danielle and Melissa. So first they're talking about guys' night where John Fuda, I'm sorry I said Joe in the last episode, y'all. I mean, there's so many Joes anyway. And y'all knew what I was talking about. But Rachel's saying that, he had an allergy test. He's not allergic to anything. They said they're thinking when he took the bone marrow shot, like a hairline crack, came off and got stuck in his throat. So then now they're discussing Teresa's ponderosa about Margaret from Danielle's perspective. Melissa is shrugging at this information because she says in her confessional, like Louis' ex has reached out to everybody. It's not just Louis' ex. Like some of Louis' family members even contacted Melissa. Danielle is saying how this court case has affected Teresa and she's losing weight, like she's 90 pounds wet. Rachel's like, she's 90 pounds because I asked on Ozempic. But yeah, I'm confused as to why Teresa is so stressed with a case that has nothing to do with her. There has to be something going on behind the scenes. So now they're talking about the upcoming RHONJ, and again, I don't know why anybody thinks, resolution was going to come out of this. Side note, that charcuterie board looks amazing. Shout out to Brooke Ashley because my mouth is watering looking at that. Danielle's been discussing with them what she's going to say to Jennifer when she sees her. She wants to speak her piece, but the situation just makes her so upset. Melissa then chimes in and says she herself has nothing to say. She already spoke her piece. And everyone agrees with her. Like, her relationship with Teresa is dead. There is no reconciliation. Next scene, we're at Danielle's house where she's carving pumpkins with her husband and kids. She's talking about her dad and her relationship with him. Again, my fucks are few for that plot line. Fast forward. They're then talking about guys' night where Nate was invited to both, but he had to work. She asked him which one he would have gone to, and he said Louis, surprisingly. Now, I would have thought because she's more cool with Marge, Melissa, and Rachel, he would have went to Joe Gorga's event. Anywho, next scene, it is the day of the RHONJ. We just see a montage of the ladies getting ready for it. We're now with Teresa and Louis the Lobster, and she's telling him she doesn't really have a plan for this lunch, and she's not a strategic person. He then says, oh, I know you're not. He said that immediately, too. So he knows she's stupid. Got it. They are really trying to just pin all his troubles on Margaret. He calls her a disgusting, vile human being, which I think is rich coming from him. Like, he just looks like such a weirdo in every scene, especially in that stupid fucking t-shirt he has that says transcend. I'm sure it's a scammy business of his that he's trying to market. We cut to Margaret talking to her husband, and it seemed like she has something up her sleeve. She says she do have a few things to tell Teresa, and she's also going to give Jackie an opportunity to address what she knows about her. Margaret is such a good housewife. Her receipts are always on point, and she's a tough one to take down. I'm sorry, y'all can't get me to hate her. Oh my God, we go back to Louis the Lobster talking about Rachel and her husband, calling them bottom feeders. Again, coming from a bottom feeder and leech on Teresa. But Teresa's too stupid to realize it. And he needs to chill out on the Botox. We then hear Teresa talking about her brother and how she's done with him. She's not going to say forever because she just don't say that. But just the way she talks, she's just such a simpleton. We then get flashbacks of when, they were in a good place. But she says them reconciling, it's not going to happen. The only way she's going to reconcile with her brother is if he divorced Melissa, because she hates her that much. Next scene, we're with Melissa and Joe, and she's just telling the information that she heard when she was at Rachel's house. Again, she points out Teresa's hypocrisy, like how they're all trying to just pin this on Margaret, when she did the same thing when she befriended Margaret's ex-best friend. So of course Margaret's going to talk to the ex. Melissa then asks Joe, is he comfortable with the current relationship that he has with his sister? From his response, it seems like he is. And Melissa's like, okay, well, I got to go ahead to keep these boundaries up. And there's really nothing to say to her. We then get a few flashbacks of Melissa versus Teresa. My personal favorite is when she's like, stop hurting us! Side note, I really like Melissa's looks, but in her confessional, she really needs to tone it down with the eyeshadow. Next scene, we are finally at Rails. Dolores is the first to arrive. She's just getting things set up before the rest of the ladies get there. We're then reminded by production in a flashback that the ladies all met up at Rails before. This is when Jacqueline was on. I think this was her last season, and it was Jacqueline versus Teresa, who are good friends now. I really want to ask Dolores, what did she think was the best scenario that was going to come out of this? The ladies are arriving and they are all dressed to impress. And as they're coming in, we see flashbacks of when they all used to get along with the person that they hate. So it's Dolores' idea to sit people across from the people that they hate the most. I didn't think that was the brightest idea. Ooh, we see Margaret arriving, and I see you, Margaret. She looks good. So pretty much all the ladies are there with the exception of Teresa. No shocker there. They already ordered drinks. They're eating. She comes in, and oh, am I the last one to arrive? Yeah, they zoom in on Melissa's reaction, and I had the same one. And y'all notice that the lunch was going fine until Teresa showed up. As soon as she was about to sit down, she's like, oh, I don't want to sit across from her. No, because what's going to be in front of her, she's going to be wearing it. Like, she is the common denominator. Give her ass her own show like Kim Zolciak, and then we can eventually watch her life implode, and then just switch around the current cast that they have. That's all they had to do. Teresa is the one that creates the divide. All the other women, they can at least be cordial with each other, even after a fight. Once Teresa finally sits down, apparently Dolores and Fessler are the moderators for the discussion that's about to happen. So Jennifer and Danielle are up first. Danielle starts by saying she hopes she can have a conversation where she can verbalize instead of coming at her with complete anger. Jennifer says, oh yeah, I do too, if you're capable of it. Like, she starts being a bitch already. Danielle's trying to explain where she's coming from and what Jennifer accused her about her charity, but Jennifer is still throwing shade at her, trying to call her broke, I understand. And now they're just going tit for tat now. Like, I feel like Danielle was actually trying to have a conversation, but Jennifer wasn't having it. I will be fair though, y'all, and say when they last saw each other, Danielle was the petty one and said, you look like shit. So now, Jennifer really doesn't owe her that grace, even though it would have been nice. They're going back and forth now. Dolores and Fessler try to move the conversation on, but then Jennifer calls Danielle a clown, and then Danielle's like, well, when I go home, at least I know my husband's waiting for me. Then Jennifer says, oh yeah, your husband with the boobs and you got the brawn. Danielle immediately leaps up and throws something at Jennifer. Allegedly, it was like a water pitcher or something like that. But it is chaos at the table. Everyone's yelling. Teresa's like, cut it out! Melissa then says, cut it out. You're the queen of this shit. Then we finally have Melissa and Teresa acknowledging each other. Teresa says, fuck you. Melissa's like, they learn from the best, white trash. Melissa does some type of hair flip in the stances or whatever, while Teresa's calling her a whore. And then Melissa's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell Antonia, your aunt thinks I'm a whore. Now here's what I think about the situation. First with Danielle and Jennifer. I'm very disappointed in Danielle that she let Jennifer ass get to her. With just some mediocre reads, really girl? Like, you didn't have to give her the satisfaction. Like, you gave your power to her. Now, I heard there was some deeper meaning to the man boob situation, but still, like, I just didn't think it warranted that response. Like, at least last time, we saw Jennifer push you, so that cup to the head, like, she deserved that. Now, with Melissa and Teresa, I feel like, yeah, Melissa did start that, but I just feel like Melissa's just so empowered these days that she don't have to walk on eggshells around Teresa anymore. Technically, like, Melissa came at Teresa first, but I don't give a shit because I don't like Teresa. She's been tormenting Melissa for years, and even though I don't really care for Melissa like that and she kind of lame, she's still justified. We now have security and production intervening, and they're deciding whether or not Danielle should leave. We then see some of the ladies chat outside the room, and then we see Teresa trying to calm Danielle down. Danielle's like, Teresa, not the fucking time. Teresa again tries to make it about Margaret, and Danielle's like, it's not about you right now. And then she goes on to the bathroom where Rachel and Dolores are trying to calm her down. Teresa telling someone not to be violent is comical when she first walked in, telling the ladies that if she was sat in front of Margaret, she was going to be wearing what was in front of her. Also, side note, they tried to make us think that a brawl let out in the room when it was just one instance and they all sat down right afterward. You would have thought they torn their room up, and it wasn't the case. And I don't know why they didn't show Danielle throwing the picture. Like, if they could show Monique and Candace fighting, we could see all of this. Danielle's having a little breakdown in the bathroom because she let Jennifer get to her again, and she's trying to pull herself together. Back at the table, we hear Melissa saying, when you bring up the husbands, it's a sensitive topic for some people. Jennifer don't give a shit. She said, don't start none, won't be none. That Danielle brought up her husband first. I mean, she has a point. I hate that Jennifer's right in this situation. And even Margaret says that Danielle shouldn't have thrown anything. So then a little later, Jen Fessler says she is out. Like, she is tired of this. She's not used to this. I'm like, girl, you didn't know what you signed up for? Bye. After that, and actually after this season, Jen Fessler doesn't need to come back. I'm so disappointed in her. Like, I actually wanted her to be full-time at one point. So the ladies are all back at the table, including Danielle. She's seated far away from Jennifer. They're then talking about how Fessler just left, and then Teresa's like, yeah, her friend is a vile person, the worst. And then Margaret opens the floor for Teresa to address her. And then Teresa says, I have nothing to say to you. I'm so glad how unbothered Marge is by Teresa. That's how you do it. So here we go talking about the ex. Marge says that in March of 2022 is the first time I talked to the ex. Teresa then calls Margaret a liar and keeps over-talking her so she can't say her point. Here go the back and forth about the smear campaign before the reunion, blah, blah, blah. Margaret's trying to get out her bomb because she starts by saying, like, what if I had the ex by my house? I would never do that. And then the camera pans on Jackie, who's just looking at the table. Jackie, we don't want to hear from you in your confessional. You're a stool pigeon, a rat, and a snake. Teresa then tries to insult Margaret by saying that's why you married a fucking plumber. Teresa, you married a scammer. You can't even say what he does for a living. Child, Margaret not saying, I'll fuck the plumber all day long. Fuck him all day. She keep repeating it. I'm like, Margaret. We're again talking about the reunion, and Teresa's saying the lies that Margaret told, and you got Rachel and John Fuda involved, and they're talking about the Bo Dietl situation yet again, Lord. I'm guessing it was never solidified that Louis reached out to John Fuda's ex in jail. I'm sure Louis didn't do it directly. He had a third party do it. But now, Rachel and Teresa are going back and forth. And here goes Teresa bringing up the husband again, trying to bring up John Fuda's past. And then Rachel's like, it's not your place to bring up my fucking husband. Teresa's then mocking her by saying, fuck, fuck, fuck. Again, I would suggest y'all watch this scene uncensored on Peacock. It's much easier because the F-bombs are flying. So then Rachel's had enough of Teresa's shit. She's like, keep my fucking husband's name out your fat, hot dog lip mouth. You know, I hate Will Smith for starting that. Rachel's reads were kind of mid, but her lips do look like hot dogs. Like, Teresa needs to stop working on her lips. So Margaret thankfully interrupts their petty back and forth by getting back to what she was trying to say to Teresa, which was Louis' ex met up with Jackie at her house. Miles drop at the table, and this happened in 2021. Jackie's like, no, fucking liar, liar. Right. And then Teresa, she's like, oh yeah, she's fake, she's front, she's like, she's trying not to let Margaret talk. And then they're like, Margaret, how do you know this information? Margaret's like, she found out last week because she got in touch with Louis' ex and said, oh, well, you know Teresa's trying to like gather everyone around to say this about me. Margaret tells her everyone who attended, and then Louis' ex told her, well, I don't know why Jackie's going because I met up with her during so-and-so. Ooh, Margaret did that, and yet again, another L for Jackie. Jackie looked like she shit herself at the table. We cut to Marge confessional. She got the exact date. February 25th, 2021, when Jackie started speaking to Louis' ex. Jackie keeps denying it, and they're asking her, did you have her at your house? Like, even before y'all were friends? She said no. So then Melissa tells her, look, if Margaret has proof, it's gonna come out. So then there's silence at the table, and then Jackie tells Teresa, I met with her. Miles drop again at the table. Like, how do you lie that much at first? Like, denied it at least 6 times and then says, I met with her. I think it really hit Jackie when Melissa told her, you know Margaret's gonna have proof, so you might as well admit it. Jackie's singing like a canary now. She was just like, I did it because we hated each other. You attacked my husband, but I didn't want to fuck shit up. That's why I didn't want to tell you. That means she's been lying to Teresa the whole time. Again, they've been using each other. It's not a real friendship. Like, Jackie has become a bottom feeder. I'm just so disappointed. The biggest disappointment of a housewife. Jackie, we don't care. All you had to do was just tell the truth. And you put that on Margaret when you were the one that was talking to Louis' ex? Child, Jackie got caught red-handed. Like, even Jennifer was like, but you told us, like, you didn't know anything. They even do the flashback where Jackie was lying. Margaret's like, you're a fucking lawyer. She's just so stupid. It's just such a big L. Margaret won. Checkmate. Check fucking mate. Now, this was the bomb drop that Teresa was supposed to have. This is shocking information. Oh! Margaret's like, you subpoenaed the wrong bitch. I want that on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. After this revelation, Teresa has egg on her face. She's looking like a deer in headlights, but she's trying to save face by still trying to come at Margaret. I'm like, your friend right here is the one that met up with Louis' ex. And I'm sure Louis doesn't appreciate that. Wow. So Dolores asked Teresa, like, Jackie just admitted this. Are you okay with that? And Teresa's like, yeah, I'm okay. Everyone at the table is shocked. Like, she don't like Margaret that much that she don't want to give her the satisfaction of Margaret being right. That's the thing. Like, she just don't like Margaret. That's the same thing that goes for Melissa. She just don't like Melissa. Now, had Margaret had Louis' ex over, you wouldn't hear the end of it from Teresa. But because it was Jackie, she's like, oh, well, nah, I don't care. We weren't good at the time. They're both stupid. Even Jennifer at the table says it's fucked up. And we hear in her confessional that, yeah, Teresa's just taking some time to process this. And she didn't want to give Margaret the satisfaction, just like I said. So after that big revelation, there really is nothing else left to discuss. Everything is just left on the table, literally. So half the ladies leave. We then see Teresa, Dolores, Jackie, and Jennifer. Jackie is like, after I saw her, I never dealt with her again. And Dolores like, you don't have to explain yourself. She says she's fine with it. Child, so then after that, everyone's leaving. We see Dolores, you know, how the season started, just at the table, just looking like the godmother or whatever. And yeah, no resolution. This is it. We get a few flashbacks, and that is where the episode ends, y'all. This season, I'd probably give it like a C+. This finale, definitely a C. I mean, the bomb drop by Margaret saved the episode. Like, even the little skirmish, well, not even a skirmish, well, Danielle throwing the picture at Jennifer, that really was nothing too. They could have just left that in. The next episode is a reunion of sorts where they're just gonna watch it together in separate rooms. I'm not sure if that's worth reviewing, but I'll keep y'all posted. I would love to know whose side y'all on in all this. I think we can all agree that the loser in this situation is really Jackie. I think Teresa is not needed on this cast. I think we've seen twice that this cast can move forward without her. But yeah, the Tree Stumps, they need their own show with Teresa. And let's see if she can carry her own show by herself. Anyway, y'all, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all for the next episode. And yes, I'm working on Dubai. I promise. The next 2 episodes, I'm going to do it. Okay, bye.